Hi, today I'm here to talk about the bandwagon logical fallacy. It's popular with persuasive writing and, of course, advertising and politicians, as every lie essentially is. The bandwagon can be broken down into a bunch of subgroups, and I'm really not going to address all of them because realistically, they're all pretty much the same thing. They're just different, like I said, subgroups, different ways to identify different pieces of it. I am going to cover the ad populum, which means to the populace or popularity, the consensus gentium or consensus of the people, and the status appeal, which sounds like it could be its own with the other appeal to authority, appeal to pity, appeal to ignorance. But this fits right in with bandwagon, so I'm just going to lump it right in there myself. I think a lot of other people do too, but it's up to you to interpret these yourself and make your own decisions. That's actually the whole point of recognizing logical fallacies, is that you're not convinced of something without proper evidence. Uh, but yeah, the ad populum is basically when something's accepted because it's popular. I can give you an example of this. Circumcision. It sounds like something, you've heard that it's necessary for hygienic purposes, but since we've invented antibacterial soap, really has not been an issue with proper hygiene practices. And not to mention, certain parts of the world are still doing female circumcision, and it's popular there, so it's accepted, and it's allowed to go on, even though a lot of people would say it's barbaric and disgusting. Kind of like in modern day, it's also calling people that you disagree with bigots for some reason, and not even listening to their argument, just flat out calling them a bigot because X. It's done a lot lately. Uh, Capital punishment's another good one. A lot of people don't agree with it at all, but it's popular enough that it's going on in much of the world, to include the United States. And logical fallacies themselves passing as arguments. I mean, that's how a logical fallacy passes as an argument. People just accept it because it's popular enough to make a straw man attack, or to say, trust the scientists. Just like when everyone was saying that the Hunter Biden laptop issue was all fake news and it was Russian disinformation, and now it's coming out that all of this stuff is real and he's under investigation for money laundering, and so isn't his uncle, Joe's brother. All this stuff was pushed aside before with the bandwagon argument of it's fake, don't even bother looking at it, even though the evidence came out before. Now they're admitting that they're under investigation by the FBI, IRS, and a whole bunch of other people. And it's even more funny seeing these news organizations that buried it before coming out and saying, "Oh, who could have guessed this? Why wasn't this brought up before? This could have made a difference." Uh, and also terrible grammar. Nah, none of us are particularly great at speaking English, but we allow some real terrible grammar to pass as spoken language that we should all just shake our head and say that didn't make any sense. But it all depends on where you stand and how far you're into whatever subculture that you might end a sentence with a preposition, and that drives me nuts. Where are you at? And that was a big thing I had going on in the Navy with some of the Texas guys. Big giant white dudes going, where you at? What it is? But then, all right, let's move on to the ad populum. No, I'm sorry, that's the one we just covered. I'm sorry. The consensus gentium, the relevant authorities one. Uh, Basically, it's when you have the consensus of the relevant authorities or the people involved, relevant people involved, that you just accept what they say without any actual evidence to support that argument. And an example of that is the extent of human contribution to global warming. Yeah, we're probably contributing, but you look at the actual numbers. The ocean itself spits out more carbon dioxide in a year than the entire human race does. And that's include our factories and machines. Mount St. Helens blew more CO2 into the environment in a matter of hours than we've done since the Industrial Revolution. Doesn't mean we're not contributing, but there's more to it than just that, and people are just accepting the common argument of it's our fault versus there's a billion factors as to what the heck is going on here. Another example of that would be, people thinking the Earth was flat because it was accepted by the appeal to authority there. the scientists, the smart people. Just like an economic shutdown is a great idea, but we're not looking at the possible side effects of shutting down an economy to prevent a virus. We're not considering everything else that might happen from this. And another example that's a little older, but is rounding up Japanese people in the United States during World War II and putting them in internment camps. It was accepted at the time, and it was pretty popular at the time. Did not make it okay. And now, in an appeal to status, this one's interesting. It's using someone else who's popular that says this, so therefore it must be good. Like, I want to be like Mike. What would Jesus do? Most social media celebrities with huge followings fall into this. People will say, yada yada, famous person on YouTube, yada yada, famous whoever on Twitter, said this, did this. This is particularly effective in boycotting. But really, any celebrity endorsement is really a bandwagon fallacy in and of itself. Just because Jenny McCarthy says vaccines are toxic and terrible and cause all sorts of side effects does not mean they actually do. Just because she's popular, or was popular at one point, does not make her accurate. And the best way I found to combat, anyway, a bandwagon argument is to do what I just did, is point out some things that you think are wrong, or disgusting, or deplorable, reprehensible, barbaric, etc., etc. And, show that it was accepted, the bandwagon, or you can just go with the classic, if all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you too? I'm sure you heard that one from your mother. Anyway, the idea is to kind of notice this stuff, realize that a celebrity endorsement does not make it accurate. How many people dumped money into the Me Too thing when Rose McGowan made a big deal about it? And I'm not talking trash on her, but she just came out flipping out about how all the money donated to these programs was put in the pockets of the people running the program, not to help anyone. And, their argument was, we were just getting the word out. Well, a lot of people that gave a lot of money thought they were actually helping people, not just paying famous people to advertise for them. So don't get caught in stuff like that. Just because Rose McGowan said you need to donate money here doesn't mean that she knows what she's talking about. She never bothered looking into the company and what's going on. She found out after the fact. She is not an expert. Most people are not experts. But be careful about trusting only experts also. You have to be able to think on your own. That's the whole point of all this, is to not be fooled, to not be led into a direction, to not just believe something because someone else told you. Don't just take my word for this stuff. Go ahead and look it up. It's all right there. It's free to find online. And there's a ton of it, and it's everywhere. It's put out by major universities. You don't need to pay a ton of money to find information anymore. Best of luck to y'all. God bless.